Hi, I'm Greg Hall, and I'm going to go over Tableau dashboards using set actions. So we're going to cover how we can maintain the totals. So what do I mean by that? So for example, if you have a vertical bar chart and you have the totals on top of each of the bars, and you're using set actions to select your items to get your ins and outs, the totals on top of each of the bars will disappear. So we can use dual axis to rectify that, and I'm going to go over that step by step. I also wanted to talk about the Tableau JavaScript API event listeners, where you can select your objects in your Tableau dashboard and manipulate those objects using the software of your choice. We happen to be using .NET MVC, C#, and Microsoft SQL Server as our backend database. But you may be using Python, Drupal, Apex being the Salesforce programming language. You can use whatever resources you feel comfortable with. So without further ado, let me click on our site. Let me log in. I'll go to a Tableau dashboard. Here we have many examples of Tableau dashboard. Here. I'll go to my menu bar. Here's param actions, but we're going to focus on set actions. So I'm going to click on totals disappears. It's bringing up a dashboard from Tableau Public. Here are categories here. We have totals on top here. And we're going to filter on the categories with our users here on top here. I'll select myself, James, and Stephen Curry. And we have our ins and outs, but the totals on top disappear. So let me show you one that works, a dashboard that works. Let's go to set actions, dual axis. Here are my categories with my totals on top. I'll filter on the same users, myself, James, and Stephen Curry. Now we have our ins and outs, and we have our totals on top. They're all intact. So how did we do this? Let me go to my Tableau desktop. Here I have my categories on columns, my count, sum count, ticket counts on rows. I'll drag my measure values up here on rows. Now we have two bar charts, one for measured values and one for counts. So I'm going to go to my drop down here on sum counts and click on dual axis. Now we have a chart layered on top of another chart, but it's a bubble chart. So here we have sum counts. I'm going to go to automatic and click on bar. We'll do the same with measured values. Automatic to bar. Now we have a bar chart layered on top of another bar chart. But you notice it's misaligned here, the numbers here. So let me right click on the axis here, and I'll click on synchronize axis. Now it's perfect. But we have to do one more thing. I'll go to measured values here. I'll take out the user ID set, the in and out user ID set, and take it out of colors. So that way we can maintain our totals on top of each of the bars. So it's okay for the sum count bar chart here to have our user ID set in colors because we have our measured values without it, so the numbers will always stay on top, the totals will always stay on top. So that's how that works. Let me minimize this. So let's go to percentage version. So it's pretty much the same as the numbers version, except that these are the percentage of totals, or the percentage of all the categories here within this department's dean's office. So it knows I'm in the dean's office department because of my user ID. So when I log in with my user ID. And with my user ID, it knows my department. So that's why this is checked. I'll click myself, James, and Stephen Curry here. And we have our ins and outs, and we also have the percentages, the total percentages on top. So we're using dual axis here as well. So let me go back to my numbers version, and let's talk about the Tableau JavaScript API event listeners, where you can get all the objects here. When you select items, you can get departments, names, user IDs, and count. So when I select these items, James, myself, and Stephen Curry, I can get my names here. Pretty cool. I can get the name objects. I'm also getting the user IDs, but you don't see it here. I have it hidden here on top of names via CSS. So the purpose for getting the user IDs, which is hidden, is because when I post these users, which I'll do in a bit, I'm querying off the user IDs, not the names here. So the names here are here because visually it's easier or more intuitive to see when you're selecting items and you get your names up here as opposed to your user ID. So let me post my users, and it's going to drill down to another Tableau dashboard, my categories here, and it's filtering on the users. Here I'm in blue here, James is in pink, Stephen Curry is in orange, and we're using the dual axis to get the totals on top here as well. Here are our resources, so it's pretty cool. Again, with the event listeners, I can select objects in Tableau and put it in our environment and use our resources. So for example, for James, I can click on UCSF directory, get information on him. I can click on reporting services, get a report from reporting services, which is a really powerful report writer. So you can write really complex reports. Here I have sub-reporting and my graphs here. I'll close this guy. And one of the cool things about this is the way we navigate here. I can close this window. I can select another group of users here and post these users and get a result set really fast and use my resources here. Let me show you another way we can select items here. Let's say I wanted to select myself here, bypass James and select Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson. I can click on myself, hold down the control key, click on Stephen Curry and drag it to Klay Thompson, and we have myself, Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson. I can see my ins and outs, post my users, and get a quick result set here using my resources here. So now let's look at another example using the JavaScript API event listeners. So we're not going to use set actions here. We're going to use something I'm currently working on, our workflow system. Here are our categories. We have alerts here, red alert, warnings, okay here, our comments. We can make comments here and make changes to the comments and click Save Comments. We can view all comments, meaning that you can see my comments here, but another user can log in and put their comments, and we can display it here as well. We can see all comments. So let's go back to our dashboard here. So let's use the JavaScript API event listeners to select a bunch of categories here. I'll post the categories. It brings up another interface, a drag and drop sorting interface. I can drag things to prioritize my categories. And I have my flyout menus on each record. For example, I can Google my expense, and I get my expense, it.ucsf.edu. I'll close this guy. I can, for example, for grants and contracts, look at the detailed information for that to get all my tickets here. I have my flyout menus here. I can email and or attach file attachments. I can sort, there's filtering here, a really powerful filter. So this is a really powerful component using a Telerik component. So again, I'm basically saying you can use the event listeners to select your objects and put it into your environment and use your cool resources. So let's go back to the Tableau dashboard. Now let's look at other set action dashboards. Let's go to separating anomalies. So in here, let's say James and myself are anomalies, and we shouldn't be in this ticket system here, or we want to see how it would be if we weren't in this ticket system. So let's say we're anomalies. I'll select us, and here we are in orange are the anomalies, and this here, the outs, is a true picture of what the graph should look like without the anomalies. So we can use it for that. What else is there? So there's buttons. So I go to YouTube a lot to look at examples of other dashboards in Tableau and apply it using our data. So for example, this is our categories here. These are the categories, all the categories. And if I click on Dean's Office, I get Dean's Office categories. If I click on Clint Farm, I get Clint Farm categories. And if I click on Farm Chem, I get Farm Chem categories. And let's see, if I click on Dean's Office, I can select items as well. Using the JavaScript API event listeners, I can get those items I've selected, the categories selected, and post those categories like we did with the alert dashboard here. And here we have our drag and drop sorting. So here, let's go to, I can go back to the button, but let's look at the pie chart. This is another way I can go to my pie dashboard using set actions. So I can hover over this to see slices of categories here and get the percentage of totals for the categories. I have my legend. I can select items and post the categories here as well. So now let's go to drill down. So in here, I can select Dean's Office and drill down to categories and see it in a tree map, a bubble chart, a vertical bar chart, and word cloud. And here are my data points for my categories here. I can select Clint Farm, and Dean's Office categories will collapse, so I can focus just on Clint Farm categories. And here I excluded all the outs. In set actions you have in and outs. I excluded all the outs, so all you see is the ins in here. So let's go to, last but not least, multiple drills. So here we have multiple drills. I can click on Dean's Office, for example, to get my users here. I can drill down to users, and if I click a user, I can get their categories. So here we have all the categories for all departments. And if I click on Dean's Office, I'm going to get only the categories for Dean's Office. So we're using filter actions to accomplish that. So on this dashboard, we're using set actions and a filter action. So here, if I click on myself, I'll get my category here. You can see I have 514 tickets for scheduling. And let's say I wanted to combine my tickets with somebody else. Let's say, for example, I'll hold down the control key and I'll select Stephen Curry. So I'll drill down on Stephen Curry and I'll get his categories. So in orange is a combined ticket count for me and Stephen Curry. So that's pretty much it for this. So let's go back to dual access. So I just wanted to reiterate how powerful the Tableau JavaScript API event listeners is. I can select, let's select everybody here, post these users, get a result set, a quick result set, drill down to another Tableau dashboard, use my resources, close this guy, go to another set of users, see my ins and outs, post these users, get a result set. Pretty cool. So it's pretty slick that you can use the Tableau JavaScript API event listeners to select your objects and put them in your environment to use your cool resources. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.